altered states work. I'm going to go through the NEST care model, which is referred to as Sustainable Trauma-Informed Compassionate Care, or STIC. I don't like peer support as a term, especially in psychedelic spaces, because if you are sober and somebody is in crisis and they are altered and they're asking you for help, are you actually their peer? Or are you a provider of care? And if it's a peer, then the lines get a little bit blurry of like, oh, we're just friends, we're just homies. Like, I think integration when you are sober is great for peer support. But if you're working with somebody and you are sober and you are a care provider, working with somebody who is in crisis and asking for help, there is inherently a power differential there that you have to be able to be aware of. So the NEST STIC model is a tool that can be used daily in conjunctive with any other contemplative practice and can be done anywhere. So I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible. There are 3 steps to it. Personal daily practice, providing services, and aftercare and integration. So personal daily practice, this is kind of what we've already been doing, which is like a self-reflection and a self-assessment. And so before you go to work, before you go to the festival, before you go to the ceremony, you need to be like, where's my life meter? Am I in the green or am I in the red? And do I need to take care of anything? Do I need to use the bathroom? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? How did I sleep last night? Am I able to show up not burned out, not experiencing trauma? Am I in that yellow space of being cool, calm, collected, connected, like stable? If not, take care of yourself. Like, oh, I do need to eat food. Oh, I do need to, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. Like, and then if you're working in a team, you tell your team, hey, I didn't really sleep that well last night. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm at like 70%, not 100% today. And that's okay to say that, but how can you show up and where are you at? And then do what we just kind of did, which is acknowledge our own personal biases, our privilege, our judgments, being able to be like, I am not for everyone, right? I don't like working with drunk people. That's okay. I have other people that are totally fine working with drunk people. Great, that's why they're on my team. And so having this self-reflection of like, I am a human, I am also on my learning, growing, healing path. I will carry with me my own personal trauma history and my own biases with me when I go out and do this work, and that is also okay. And then be compassionate with yourself. Send yourself like, wow, I'm like so happy that I can spend time in being a care provider, and also like if I fuck up, that's okay too. I'm gonna be able to own my mistakes. I'm gonna do my best to not. But have compassion for yourself and compassion for the people that are going to reach out to you. They're in a state of suffering. They are not in their comfort zone. They are dysregulated, and so how do we have compassion for them?
What does STIC stand for?
Sustainable, trauma-informed, compassionate care. So energetically sustainable, using a trauma-informed model, and providing compassionate care. And so step 2, consent. Right, I like using San Francisco as a good analogy because there are a lot of unhoused people who have substance use disorders. And if you're walking through the Tenderloin, or if you're walking through downtown Denver and there are somebody in an alleyway who is engaged in IV drug use, and you come by and you're like, hey, do you need some help? And they say, fuck off. Then like they're not consenting to you interacting with them, right? And so, hey, introducing yourself. Hi, my name's Panda. I'm here because I work in harm reduction, and I notice like it seems like you're crying and flailing around on the ground, and like I'm here to help. Or can I help you? And so like, oh God, yes, please help me. Get me out from under this food truck. Great. Awesome. Let's take you to a safe space. And then what we do is, because people who are altered can't consent to anything, this is an exercise in patience. We are gonna not do anything extreme. We're not going to change anything. We are going to keep your physical form safe and allow you to have extreme emotional experiences until you are able to get to a baseline where you can consent. There's an acronym for space, holding space, because everybody is like, what the fuck is holding space? Like, it sounds so ambiguous. So space, sustainable. Am I going to turn myself into a crisis if I do this work? Patient, authentic. It's like how I hold space and how Martha holds space and how we all hold space is different, right? And so is it authentic to me? How do I show up in this space? Consensual, and then empathy. We do this work because we've all had these experiences, and we can have relatable experiences of what it means to feel like we're suffering and needing help and needing assistance. And so, as a reminder to holding space, sustainable, patient, authentic, consensual, empathy is what we're doing when we go out there. And then aftercare and integration. So providing resources, doing integrative practices. I think it's really important, especially in extreme crisis, that the integration is not only for the individual who is in crisis, but the witnesses of their friends and community, and you as a care provider, having an opportunity for everyone to have a little bit of a debrief. And then providing resources like Fireside, providing resources, and maybe that is, I was working Desert Days last year, and there were 2 kids that were in the medical, that had a big psilocybin experience, and they were in medical, and they were both car-dwelling humans living in their car. And as a California-based social worker, I was like, hey guys, like, do you have public assistance? Like, let me show you how to apply for food stamps. Let me show you how to apply for, right? We're not just here to give them psychedelic resources, but like, what do they need in their community? Do they need to get referred to a sexual assault hotline or domestic violence resources? Or referring somebody to the Psychedelic Bar Association so they can get legal counsel around the fact that their facilitator assaulted them. What are the legal ramifications, and what are the resources that we need to give to people? And so doing this practice when you are going out and holding space, like sustainable trauma-informed compassionate care, daily practice, consensual patience, aftercare and integration. And so we talked a little bit about this consent, right? If somebody's altered, they can't consent to taking any additional substances unless you are in an ER emergency situation and you are giving them something to turn the volume down. Ethical care, being aware of your own boundaries, working in teams, understanding power dynamics and sexual energy dynamics that might come into play. And like developing a safety plan, like what we just talked about, which is if there is a medical emergency, like what is the safety plan? Who do we call? Do we have emergency contact numbers for everyone? So power dynamics, and we touched on this around therapists, facilitators, practitioners are all inherently have a power differential because our clients are reaching out and being vulnerable and asking for help. This is amplified by the use of psychedelics, including that psychedelics can shift someone into a place of heightened suggestibility. Right? The CIA tried to weaponize psychedelics, right? By using it as suggestibility and truth serums. And so it is our job as good psychedelic citizens to be extra vigilant to ensure the protection of our communities. And so we can talk about kind of toxic cult dynamics. And one of those things would be, you can only engage in medicine work with me. Big one. Stop paying attention to the news. Stop paying attention to the world around you. I understand for dieta to not have like negative, like going into like 14 days before, 14 days after. Don't watch television only listen to this certain type of music. Let's all only wear white natural fabrics and like look like we're in a Kundalini cult together. Looking at the ways that cult dynamics start to, or give me all your money, only donate to these causes, like only engage in this. As soon as there's this like isolation, isolationism, big red flag in psychedelic communities. And so if we're watching our friends go down those paths, I have a friend who loves joining cults. Like did Landmark all the way through, and like did you like really like deep dives into the like really there's people out there that like really like to join cults, and then you're like it's another cult. All right, let's unpack that. Like, you know, some people think the psychedelic community is a cult, especially if we have very conservative family members. And so this last section, we have 30 minutes left, and I'm gonna go through like your homework assignment. So the way that I have recovered from my OG burnout from psychedelics is when I go into psychedelic work and psychedelic spaces is like, I like play a character, right? I'm in my avatar. When we talk about internal family systems and we talk about all of the parts that are within us, like we have an inner healer, we have an inner child, we have protectors that, like sometimes I have like a really angry 14-year-old inside of me that like wants to burn it all down, and like it's okay. But like I now have great practices that I can do that like allow me to have that energy utilized in a really useful, healthy way instead of having it be unhealthy. And so psychedelics allow us to soften the edges around our biases, explore our identities, and help us improve how we show up in the world. So avatarism in psychedelic care spaces allows us to create and develop parts of ourselves to help and to be vulnerable, right? Who I am with my dog and my partner, all like squishy and safe at home, like snuggled in bed, is not the person who shows up to work, right? And we see this in medical professions. Like the doctor avatar, like shows up in the emergency room, but like it doesn't need to show up at Thanksgiving dinner. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it bleeds over, and right?